This week, we turn our attention to Afghanistan, where the Taliban's iron grip is tightening, not just on women, but on men too. While the world has tended to focus on the severe restrictions imposed on women's education, movement and expression, a lesser-known story is emerging. Afghan men are also facing arrests, executions and punishments for failing to comply with the Taliban's rigid morality laws. Since the Taliban regained power in August 2021, it has issued tens of decrees targeting women's autonomy, banning girls from secondary education and prohibiting women from most jobs, public spaces and even singing in public. According to the UN Women, 80% of girls, that is about 1.1 million of them, are out of school. Women must wear full face coverings and cannot travel long distances without a male guardian or chaperone, locally known as mehram. Now, long distance is defined as any journey that involves traveling for more than 72 kilometers. Women are barred from working for national and international non-governmental organizations. They're also banned from health studies, nursing and midwifery courses. In 2022, women were banned from flying alone on both domestic and international flights, complicating departures for some women who were offered scholarships to study at universities abroad. But men are not spared either. In August 2024, the Taliban codified a 35-article morality law mandating men to grow fist-length beards, banning Western-style haircuts, and prohibiting clothing such as jeans that imitate non-Muslims. The morality police has detained men and their barbers for a wrong hairstyle. An April 2025 report by the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan says in the first 6 months of implementation of the law, over half of the arbitrary detentions concern men's appearance, either men not having the compliant beard length or hairstyle, or barbers providing non-compliant beard trimming or haircuts. You see the man in the center? His beard is kosher for the Taliban. It is legit. But according to a new 6-point list of rules for barbers, the hairstyle of North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un or US actor Leonardo DiCaprio is not kosher. Also, beards should be no shorter than 1 strand and men's eyebrows should not be trimmed, and barbers should not play music in their shops. The morality police, also known as inspectors, operate under what is known as the Ministry for the Propagation of Virtue and the Prevention of Vice. The ministry's guidelines cover aspects of everyday life such as public transportation, music, shaving and celebrations. Now, they are set out in a 114-page document. The laws empower the ministry to be at the front line of regulating personal conduct, administering punishments such as warnings or arrest if inspectors allege that a person has broken the laws. 3,300 male inspectors are deployed in 28 of Afghanistan's 34 provinces. 540 of them are deployed in Kabul alone. The inspectors have extensive powers, including the right to detain individuals for up to 3 days and to destroy property such as musical instruments. And talking about music, Wahid Negzai Logari played in Afghanistan's national orchestra and performed concerts on the sarinda, a traditional stringed instrument, as well as the harmonium. But the Taliban has prohibited public performance of music, deeming it un-Islamic, leaving musicians such as Logari destitute. The Taliban's brutality extends beyond detentions as well. For instance, Amnesty International reported at least 218 extrajudicial killings of former government officials and security personnel between August 2021 and June 2023. On 13th April, 4 men were publicly executed for murder convictions, a move condemned by the UN and rights groups. It was the highest number of executions to be carried out in one day since the Taliban's return to power. The executions at sports stadiums in 3 separate provinces brought to 10 the number of men publicly put to death since 2021. The previous execution was in November 2024 when a convicted murderer was shot 3 times in the chest by a member of the victim's family in front of thousands of spectators, including high-ranking Taliban officials, at a stadium in Gardes, the capital of Paktia province in the country's east. Corporal punishment, mainly flogging, is common for crimes such as theft, adultery and consumption of alcohol. But that's not all. A new law bans news media from using photographs and videos of things with souls, meaning people and animals. Consequently, TV channels have stopped showing images of living beings during their broadcasts, in line with orders from the morality police. One private TV channel only displays a logo along with audio. The UN and human rights groups are calling for accountability, but the Taliban remains defiant. It rejects Western laws and international criticism. Taliban leader Hibatullah Akhundzada defends these acts by saying Islam is a comprehensive system of all divine commands, but some in the global community disagree. In January 2025, the International Criminal Court issued warrants against Akhundzada and others for crimes against humanity, including gender persecution. The Taliban had a strict facial hair regime even during its previous rule between 1996 and 2001. A man's beard had to be long enough to exceed a fist clasped at the chin. The Taliban had developed a creative way back then to check whether a man's beard met the religiously mandated length. It asked men to put their beard inside a lantern glass to see if it fit. Those whose beards were deemed too short were punished. The recent diktats have come as a shock for Afghan men. A government employee had his salary withheld because his beard wasn't sufficiently long. Drivers are earning less and barbers are going out of business. As Western media reported, in a society where a man's voice is seen as more powerful than a woman's, some men now wonder whether they should have spoken up sooner to defend the freedoms of their wives and daughters.